I moved up from being a journalist and I pivoted into a career where I was managing a big team in content marketing, basically managing a team of like 30 writers and editors. And we were all doing, my team was in charge of writing hundreds of personal finance articles for this big fintech company. I was very successful and it was a lucrative career. And that's how I was able to really increase my earnings through negotiating more salary, signing bonuses, equity, all that good stuff. Toward 2021, I had done my sixth and final quit of my career. I didn't know it was the final quit of my career yet, but it was a big quit. I was leaving that job in fintech after 5 years, after building that team and being so proud of it. But something inside me was missing the creativity. As a manager, I was managing the managers, managing the creatives, like doing the writing and, all that. And I was missing my roots as a writer and reporter of telling stories and engaging and really being close to my audience. And I felt in me a shift. I started to crave something new and different. And then I got what I thought was this dream opportunity to basically be a spokesperson and an educator for a huge financial brand. And it was also very lucrative. This was the pinnacle of my career. So I quit, took that opportunity, and it was not it. It was not what I had thought it was. And I lasted there for just a few months. And then I had this moment where after 12 years of my career of taking all my own advice, of quitting strategically, increasing my net worth, having a nice savings, having financial security, I had an opportunity to choose what I wanted to do next. And I chose myself. I chose to take a chance and start a business. And when I thought, what is it that would fulfill that creative void? What was it that I really had wanted to do for that big financial brand that I found out I wasn't going to be able to do? And I was like, I can do that on my own. I had thought that I needed a big brand behind me to like legitimize myself. But like you said, I had been in this game for like 10 years. I had the credibility and the authority. I just needed to believe in myself. What I realized is I was very passionate. Even through the podcast, I'd always been the 9-to-5 corporate girly. Tiffany was the badass entrepreneur business owner, and I was really repping for the 9-to-5ers and constantly fielding those questions from our listeners. And I think I have some value to give here to women of color navigating their corporate careers and offering the same strategies that help me to help them succeed. And so the summer of 2021, I offered free career coaching sessions because I wanted to do some market research and get to know women. And also I wanted to see if anyone wanted to be coached by me because I didn't know, can I do this? Will people want it? So I started by offering free sessions. 200 women signed up. I was like, whoops. I did 100 something sessions at the end of it. Thankfully, not everyone actually followed through, but I did their free session. And by the end of 6 months, I had developed the idea for Mandi Moneymakers, which I launched at the beginning of 2022.
That's amazing. If you could pinpoint some of the strategies that you've used to go from earning $35K to over $300K before becoming a full-time entrepreneur, what would they be? Because I'm sure people are eager to know what they can do to earn more.
Two main ones. One is building a really strong professional brand. And the second one is upskill. Like I said, I studied print journalism. I basically knew how to write stuff, and that wasn't going to cut it. Like the industry was changing. I was not going to make it. And obviously I already had learned. I was extremely disposable because my only skill was to write and I had nothing else to give. And they were like, oh, just cut that girl. I had been laid off. So for me, it was important to start to upskill. So what did I do? I didn't go back and get a new degree. I upskilled in place. So I looked for opportunities at the places I was hired to take on new work and new challenges. For me at Business Insider, that was starting to interview people for the camera, which was so nerve-wracking. The set was right in the middle of the newsroom. People could hear you talking. It was my nightmare. But I started to recognize I needed to learn how to speak on camera because video was very lucrative for journalism and it was just the way things were going. Then when I joined Yahoo Finance, I wanted to double down on that and then produce my own video ideas. I made friends with the producing team and I was like, I think I have an idea for a weekly video series. I'll write the script. I'll do all the segment production or whatever. You guys just let me play with your equipment and let me work with you guys. Of course, we're desperate for video content. They were like, you want to write the scripts for us and do the thing on camera for us? Okay, you're going to make our jobs easier. So that's when I learned to write for digital video and worked on my video presence and how to read a teleprompter and all of that. And then the podcast. I launched Brown Ambition Podcast in 2015. Podcasting was really coming up as a hot new way of doing journalism and storytelling. Although Yahoo at the time said no when I pitched Brown Ambition to them, they didn't want to finance it or support it thank God, because now we own it entirely. But I taught myself how to edit and put a podcast up, investing in my skills and making myself more attractive, more substance to my resume. And not only that, but the things I was doing were putting me out there and getting noticed and getting attention. I wasn't just doing the video to be doing it. I was sharing it on LinkedIn, sharing it with my network. I was sharing my podcast, getting out there on social media, getting out there on LinkedIn. That connects to the first thing I mentioned, which is professional branding, which is what I work with so many women on, is you can't be the best kept secret. So how can you start to tell people in your network and be recognized and noticed for the work that you're doing? So whether it was attending conferences and then pitching to speak at a conference, the work I was promoting on social media would get me invited to speak on a panel or be a panelist or do a talk for a conference or something like that. You know, those opportunities were coming because my brain was getting out there. And lo and behold, I met my future boss, and he was the one who gave me my shot as a content director and helped me pivot. And I went from earning like 90K to 145K. So that was a huge transition. So professional branding and upskilling are two of the biggest strategies that I used, and I have seen work for my clients and my Mandi Moneymakers when it comes to attracting those bigger and better job opportunities.
Well, you dropped so many gems just now. You've been pivoting, right, for the past 10 years.
Ever, right? Forever. Pivot my whole life. Since I was 10 and my mom was like, we're moving out.
That's a good point. Talk to me about the art of the pivot. Like, how do you know when to pivot and how to pivot?
The thing is, if you are doing the work of upskilling and having a strong professional brand, it's going to be hard for you not to have opportunities coming to you. A lot of women come to me and they feel stuck. At this point, they know they want something new. They want to pivot, but because they haven't invested in their professional brand or their upskill, the opportunities aren't coming to them. And I do believe in the power of opportunities coming to you versus you having to go out there and always hunt them down. So for me, throughout my career, I mentioned I quit 6 times, right? Of those 6 new jobs that I took, only one of them I applied for. The other 5 came to me. And that was the very first job I took after I was laid off and I was desperate. And I was like, I'll do anything. So from there, it was referrals. It was someone remembering or seeing my work. That job at Insider, why'd they hire me off the street? I didn't have any personal finance experience. It was because a former editorial assistant at a magazine I interned at had followed my blog. I started a blog about biking in New York. And she was like, you're a great writer. I'm hiring a writer. Do you want to try to write about money? So it was, again, me sharing that work so that she could see it, attracting that attention, getting that opportunity. And from there, the same thing. From Insider to Yahoo Finance. Yahoo Finance loved my work at Insider, got me noticed. I literally was writing for the Yahoo Finance editors. I wanted a job there, but I knew I had the best shot at getting one if they were loving and seeing my content. That's what I mean by attracting those opportunities to you.
So I guess it's very important for us to not only know how to pivot or when to pivot, but also have to make yourself attractive the next opportunity.
You have to be poachable. I talk with my makers all the time about being as poachable as possible. You don't want to be the best kept secret. Don't play hard to get. I mean, I wasn't out there like with a hire me sign on the side of the street, but I was consistently showing up in the spaces where people who I wanted to hire me were hanging out. And by that, I mean at the conferences with other media leadership. I was showing up at the conference where the founder of that company that gave me my start as a content director, where he was at. Magnify Money, a personal finance marketplace. He was at FinCon. I put myself at FinCon. You know, I didn't have to go there. That was my choice to go into network. How are you putting yourself in the path of people who could give you opportunities? And then when you're in their path, how are you showing up? Are you someone who's going to be on the speaker list as a panelist or as a speaker? Are you someone who's associated with a cool project that's going to get an award that people in the audience are going to want to know? So how can you not be the best kept secret, and how can you make yourself super easy to contact? Put your email address out there, be on LinkedIn, put together a portfolio and publish it, share your stuff. It's really challenging for a lot of people to get over that hump of self-promotion because it seems like icky and cringe. But what's the alternative? You're going to continue being stuck, right? That's a lot of what I do with the women I work with, is shove them over the cliff so that they start to share their work and get noticed.